My neighbor told me he saw her leaving his place, but I didn't believe it until I found the proof. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone when a knock on the door came. I wasn't expecting anyone, and it was late, around 11:30 p.m., so my first thought was that it was just some weird coincidence, maybe someone at the wrong apartment. I opened the door, and there he was, Jeff, my neighbor from 2 doors down. He looked a little uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure whether he should be there, but his face told me something was wrong. "Hey, can I talk to you for a second?" he said, his voice a little tense. "Yeah, sure," I replied, stepping back to let him in. He looked around, then settled his gaze on me. It was like he was trying to figure out how to say something. I could already feel my pulse quickening, like I was anticipating a bombshell. "I didn't want to bring this up, but I saw your girlfriend leaving my apartment earlier tonight," he said, his words blunt but careful. I didn't know what to do, and I didn't want to stir things up, but I thought you should know. I felt my stomach drop. At first, I couldn't make sense of it. "What? Are you sure?" I asked, half laughing, trying to convince myself it was nothing. I'd been dating Emma for 2 years, and she'd never given me any reason to doubt her. Sure, there were times when she seemed a little distant, a little distracted, but nothing that screamed cheating. It wasn't like she'd been secretive about anything. Or so I thought. "Yeah, I'm sure," Jeff said, his voice serious now. I didn't want to get involved, but she came out of my place, and it wasn't like just a friendly visit. I saw the way she was looking around before she left, like she was trying to make sure no one saw her. "I don't know if you've been having issues, man, but I figured you should hear it from me instead of someone else." I stood there for a moment, my mind racing. My first instinct was to brush it off. Jeff had to be mistaken. Emma wouldn't do something like that. It didn't make sense. I'd known her for so long, and she'd always been kind, loving, everything I ever wanted in a partner. But as I looked at Jeff's face, I could see the sincerity in his eyes. He wasn't the type of guy to lie about something like that. "Are you sure? Maybe you saw someone else." I trailed off, feeling the weight of his words settle in my chest. The idea that Emma, my Emma, could betray me felt impossible. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog. "I don't know, Jeff. I trust her. I don't think." "Look, man, I'm not trying to cause any trouble," Jeff interrupted, stepping back a little, clearly uncomfortable with the direction of the conversation. "I'm just telling you what I saw. You do what you want with it. But I thought you should know." I didn't even thank him. I just stood there, the door still half open, staring at the empty hallway in front of me. As soon as I closed the door, my mind went into overdrive. Could it be true? I had so many questions, so many thoughts spinning, but none of them made sense. Why would she do that? Why would she go to his apartment? My gut told me I had to let it go, but a voice in the back of my mind kept pushing me to find the truth. I spent the next few hours pacing around the apartment, the silence only broken by the sound of my footsteps. I kept thinking about Jeff's words, about Emma leaving his place. She didn't tell me she was hanging out with him tonight, but that didn't mean anything, right? Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe Jeff had just mistaken her for someone else. It wasn't impossible, was it? I kept telling myself that, but deep down, I knew I couldn't ignore it. Not anymore. It was almost 2 a.m. by the time I realized I couldn't sit still anymore. I needed to confront Emma. I needed to know if there was anything to what Jeff had said. As much as I didn't want to, I had to ask her. I pulled out my phone, hesitating for a second before I typed a message to Emma. "Hey, are you home?" It didn't take long for her to respond. "Yeah, just getting ready for bed." "What?" I was about to tell her that I needed to talk, but something made me pause. Instead, I pulled on my jacket and grabbed my keys. I had to see for myself. I wasn't going to do this over text. I needed to look her in the eyes. As I walked out the door, my mind raced. What if she didn't answer the door? What if she lied to my face? What if I couldn't trust her anymore? The thoughts swirled in my head like a storm I couldn't outrun. I tried to remind myself that I was just being paranoid. Maybe it was nothing. Maybe Jeff had gotten the wrong idea. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The drive to her apartment was short, but it felt like an eternity. I parked outside and sat in my car for a few minutes, gathering myself. I couldn't let her know that I was already freaking out inside. I had to stay calm. Just talk to her, I told myself. Just ask her. It'll be fine. I walked up to her door and knocked. The sound felt loud in the quiet hallway. My heart was pounding in my chest, and my palms were sweaty. I hated this feeling, this gnawing sense that everything I thought I knew was slipping away. When Emma opened the door, she smiled, looking surprised but happy to see me. "Hey, what's up? Everything okay? Can we talk?" I asked, my voice a little shaky despite myself. I wasn't prepared for this, but I knew I had no choice. "Sure," she said, stepping back to let me in. "What's going on?" I stood in the entryway for a moment, tried to find the right words, but they wouldn't come. All I could hear was the blood rushing in my ears, the pounding of my heart. I looked at her, trying to read her expression, try to figure out if she knew what was coming. "I ran into Jeff tonight," I said finally, my voice barely a whisper. She frowned, clearly confused. "He told me he saw you leaving his apartment earlier." Her face went pale. Her eyes flickered toward the floor for a second before she looked back up at me, but I saw it, the flash of guilt. I knew it the second I saw it. She started, her voice faltering, but then she stopped, taking a deep breath. "Okay, look, it's not what you think." I didn't even let her finish. "What do you mean it's not what I think?" I felt the anger rising now, mixed with the sting of betrayal. "Jeff saw you leave his apartment. Don't lie to me." She looked at me, the guilt in her eyes now undeniable. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said quietly. She took a step toward me, her hands trembling slightly. "I never meant to hurt you. I don't know. I don't know how it happened." My stomach twisted. I couldn't breathe. "How it happened? What the hell is going on, Emma?" She swallowed hard. "I've been seeing him. I didn't mean to. It just happened." I couldn't hear anymore. My head was spinning, and I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My worst fear was coming true, and I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared to hear her say it out loud. I turned around and left before she could say anything else, not knowing where I was going, just needing to get away. I felt like everything was falling apart, and I didn't know how to put it back together. Part 2. I didn't know where I was going at first. My mind was spinning too fast to form a plan, so I just walked. I walked for what felt like hours, the chill of the night air biting into my skin but doing nothing to cool the fire that had ignited in my chest. I didn't even realize how far I'd gone until I found myself standing on the bridge near the river, staring out at the dark water below. My phone buzzed in my pocket, but I ignored it. I knew it was her. Emma, probably texting me 1,000 apologies or begging me to come back, to understand. But I didn't want to hear it. Not yet. Not until I could make sense of everything. It was only after I'd been standing there for a while, alone with my thoughts, that I realized I hadn't been breathing properly. I took a deep breath, the cold air rushing into my lungs, and tried to calm my racing heart. I needed to think. I needed to figure out what I was going to do next. Because despite everything, I still loved her. I loved her more than I could explain, and the thought of walking away from her felt impossible. But how could I stay with someone who had lied to me, who had betrayed me with my own neighbor? I didn't know what was worse, the fact that she'd been seeing him or the fact that she hadn't been honest with me. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and stared at the screen where her name was flashing. I had to make a decision. I knew I couldn't keep running away from this. I couldn't keep pretending like everything was fine. I pressed my thumb to the screen and called her. She picked up on the first ring. "Please, just let me explain." Her voice came through, shaky and urgent. "I didn't want you to find out like this. I swear, I never meant for this to happen." I swallowed hard, feeling the knot in my throat tighten. "Explain." I could barely keep the bitterness out of my voice. "What is there to explain, Emma? You've been seeing him behind my back. I thought I knew you. I thought I could trust you." I had a pause, my words feeling like lead in my mouth. "Why didn't you tell me?" I don't know." She sounded like she was crying now, her voice muffled by the tears. "It just happened. I was confused, and I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't want to hurt you, but it wasn't like I planned for this. It was just one thing led to another, and I felt so lost. I thought about breaking up with you, but then I'd lose you completely, and I couldn't bear the thought of that." "You didn't want to lose me?" I said, disbelief creeping into my voice. "And so you thought the best way to deal with it was to sneak around behind my back? That was your solution." I know, I messed up. I'm so sorry. I've been an idiot," she whispered. "I don't want to lose you, and I can't fix what I've done. I know that. But please, can we talk about this in person? Please." I'm begging you. I need you to hear me out." The part of me that still cared about her wanted to give in. I wanted to listen to her, to hear her say all the right things and promise me it was a mistake. But then the image of her leaving Jeff's apartment flashed in my mind, and the anger flared up again. She had betrayed my trust. We had built something together, and she had just shattered it like it meant nothing. "I can't just forget what you've done, Emma," I said, my voice trembling now. "I don't know if I can ever trust you again. I don't know if I can even look at you the same way after what you've done." There was silence on the other end, and for a moment, I thought she had hung up. But then I heard a sob, and it felt like a knife twisting in my chest. "I know," she said, barely audible. "I know, and I don't know what to do to fix it. But please, don't leave me. Don't give up on me yet. We can work through this. We can try. Just please come back, talk to me. I don't want to lose you." I was standing at the edge of the bridge, my mind a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and love. The thought of walking away from her, of ending what we had, felt like the hardest thing I could ever do. But I didn't know how to move forward. I didn't know how to rebuild trust once it had been shattered. "I don't know, Emma," I said, my voice cracking. "I need time. I can't just pretend this didn't happen." "Understand," she whispered. "Take all the time you need. I'll be here when you're ready. I'll wait for you, no matter how long it takes." I hung up before I could say anything else, not sure what I was feeling anymore. I stood there, staring out at the river, and for the first time in a long while, I felt completely lost. The next few days were a blur. I didn't go to work. I didn't talk to anyone. I barely ate. All I could think about was Emma and the mess she had made of our relationship. I kept replaying everything in my head over and over. The way she'd looked when she admitted to seeing Jeff, the excuses she made, the guilt in her eyes. But it was the silence after the phone call that stuck with me the most. That's when I realized something had shifted inside me. I didn't feel angry anymore, not in the way I had when I first found out. Instead, I felt numb, hollow. Like I didn't know who I was anymore or what I was supposed to do. I didn't even know how to face Emma after everything. She kept texting me, asking if I was okay, telling me that she loved me and was sorry and that we could fix this. I didn't know if I believed her. I didn't know if I even wanted to. The idea of trying to rebuild what we had felt exhausting, like it would take more than I had to give. And yet, when I thought about walking away completely, my heart clenched painfully. I needed answers. I needed closure. I couldn't keep living in this limbo. So I texted her back. "We need to talk." I didn't know if I was ready, but I knew I couldn't put it off any longer. Whatever came next, I had to face it head on.